Daniel Grant, the richest man in the world, the great innovator, the billionaire playboy. This was the image touted by the media, a symbol of new opportunities and limitless prosperity in a post-war Earth. War, after all, is good business. War is even better business after the war is over, especially if there was massive destruction on the order of the kind administered by the alien infestation. When humanity fought off its enemy, it found many of its cities ravaged. But like London, after the Nazi air blitz of World War II, this was not necessarily a bad thing. Sure, some good buildings were destroyed by bombs in that case, but also destroyed were massive numbers of creaky docks and ancient buildings that should have met the wrecking ball years before. The result of the devastation, reconstruction, and a better city. Such was the case with the alien infestation. Take New York City, Manhattan in particular. It had been rotting for years, its roads and subways tottering on the brink of disaster. The extermination of the aliens had left behind many ruins and much potential. Nothing on the order of Los Angeles, which was still pretty much a smoking ruin with odd nests of the creatures still needing to be wiped out. But the Big Apple needed a big overhaul. The US government, weak but still there, brought in two traditional weapons in this particular struggle: free enterprise and deregulation. Any entrepreneur, any company that had the stomach for it, were awarded the privilege of going in and wrestling with the wreckage and the building. A man named Daniel Grant not only had the company and the willpower for such a job, he had a cast-iron stomach and platinum business nerves as well. Now Manhattan's towers were shiny again, and majestic bridges spanned the East River and the Hudson. Its subways were streamlined and the aliens were all dead here, though not necessarily all the vermin. Rats, like Daniel Grant, were survivors. When he'd sent the message via subspace to his folks on Beta Centauri colony that he'd used the money they'd given him to purchase a little-known drug company, his old man had thought he'd said, "bought the farm," and thought he was dead. From a friend back on the colony, he'd heard the old fart had just shrugged and poured himself another boost of booze. Fortunately, his mother had replayed the message and gotten the true gist of the message before she poured herself another drink. Then, in celebration, they'd bought everyone at the bar a drink and promptly gotten stinking drunk. Of course, with the Grants, that was nothing new. Daniel Grant had to convince his father that the loan was a good business investment by sharing several bottles of cognac with the man. Over multiple ounces of the gut-searing stuff, Grant had pointed out that the alien Earth-torn Earth, now in reconstruction, was ripe for business opportunities. A man who had vision there could have immense power. Old man Grant wasn't so sure of the financial soundness of his son's plan, but he did have the money. Money that he wasn't sure what to do with. "Lend me some of that money, Pop," said Daniel Grant. "Let me show you what I can do." Daniel Grant had the money transferred to an Earth bank before his father sobered up, and then followed immediately thereafter by a slower route. The new Earth was violent and exciting and dynamic, a phoenix rising from the ashes. World governments bent over backwards to encourage growth. Restrictions were cut. Regulations either forgotten, ignored, or repealed. It was the freest market imaginable, and Grant studied it. He decided that what Earth people really needed, and would always need, were pharmaceuticals. Aspirin for headaches, harder drugs for those harder-to-deal-with biochemical problems, euphorics, other mood alterers. And with a crack team of scientists at his bidding, he could map out new directions of biochemical technology. Since Neo-Pharm was one of the few drug companies still operating, under the helm of Grant's cunning and ruthlessness, unbounded by law or ethics, it burgeoned. Cash and credit flow were astounding. Grant expanded, buying out other companies, building himself an empire. Real estate, retail, hotels, space shuttles, even gambling casinos. Daniel Grant wanted to make a strong, swift impression. Unfortunately, his first buy remained his best. None of the other companies did anywhere near as well as Neo-Pharm, and often he found himself dipping into the NP's black ink to try to neutralize the other company's red ink. If something happened to Neo-Pharm, some financial disaster like a successful class action suit or having to shut down production of Xenozip, their most popular product, then the whole card castle would crumble. And he wouldn't be able to make certain personal payments. Failure would not mean just bankruptcy. His ass was on the line. Although his chic East Side penthouse was only 10 blocks away from the infamous Grant Tower, Daniel Grant always had himself driven to work in one of his sleek fleet of turbostretch limos. You had to put on a show. You needed leverage for business deals, flash and illusion and glitz helped gain leverage. Sometimes, when the numbers in your bank account were either preceded by negatives or promises, flash and illusion and glitz were all you had. This was why Daniel Grant always made sure that he entered his building through the front door, so that the spectacle was available to the local media. Today was a brisk spring day in Manhattan, and Grant had his window open so that he could see his tower as he approached. A hunk of gleaming obsidian thrusting up toward the sky from the famously firm island bedrock, Grant Tower dwarfed its surrounding midtown neighbors. Of course, a lot of these were still in twisted ruins, which gave Daniel Grant's skyscraper the edge. In fact, it looked like a streamlined monument in an urban cemetery. Still, Grant only had to look at it and feel like the top dog, the king of the hill, the Duke of New York. "Nice day for a skyscraper, eh?" he said to his female companion, tucked away in the plush, dim corner. Candy, or was it Bambi, barely looked up from her compact mirror. "Very impressive, Mr. Grant." She glanced at the erect structure, nodded, and winked coyly. "Reminds me of last night." "You're the best, honey," he said, as the limo smoothly cruised up to the new permacrete fronting of the GT. He pulled out a wad of $100 bills and tucked it into her sweet palm. "Here, doll. Go buy yourself something nice." Daniel Grant swiveled around to greet the chronicles of his arrival, trying to look annoyed. There were usually one or two people here to record his arrival and ask a few questions. Today, there was a mob. From the corner of his eye, he caught a reporter with a new face and an old question. "Mr. Grant, how do you account for your meteoric rise to success? What's your secret?" Grant paused, lifted his hand like a heckled but patient monarch requesting heed for his proclamation. "No secrets. I just make a point of proving the old saying. You can learn something new every day." "Mr. Grant, what led to the recent split between you and your last wife?" No comment. "Can you confirm rumors that you are planning to enter politics?" Of course not. He loved those kinds of questions. You give a definite answer that didn't mean a goddamn thing. "Who was that young lady you drove up with?" A slight smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. "A friend." He feigned total astonishment. "Where did you hear that one?" "Mr. Grant, could you comment on the alleged lethal side effects of your new wonder drug?" "I'm unaware of such reports." A lie. But he honestly didn't think the wonder drug actually was lethal. But these impromptu news conferences were no place for complex ethical and biochemical delineations. "I have full confidence in all my employees, especially those hard-working men at Neo-Pharm." He spun around on the sole of his spit-polished shoes, again a busy businessman, immersed in the burdens of accruing riches, and stamped away, letting the hail of further questions slip off him. He dodged between two uniformed, sunglassed guards into the building, waggling the finger of command. The thick-necked men stepped between the press and the door, preventing them from further pursuit. Grant stepped into the marbled halls of the first floor and made a hasty hop and skip for his special turbo elevator. The car closed behind him and he punched a button. Thus, he was zoomed down to the basement offices and labs of his principal company, the foundation from which Daniel Grant had boosted into the wheeler-dealer stratospheres. The door whispered open before him, and the familiar subdued colors throbbed over him. The acidic smells of the lab assaulted his nostrils. He stalked across the catwalk that spanned a pit where biochem workers in silvery suits worked over tables and tanks. Along the walls were aquariums filled with pickled bugs, whole bugs, half bugs, bits and pieces of bugs. In the hellish bug juice, their acid blood was carefully controlled, the vicious stuff. That was why the technicians worked in the specially lined pit. Anything that got loose, you could slice it away, and it couldn't get into where it could damage things or kill people. He finished crossing the pit and entered the bank of offices belonging to the scientists of the firm. A door labeled Dr. Patrick Wyckoff loomed. Grant kicked it open. The little man did a double take. His round Coke bottle glasses flashed in the indirect lighting. Jaw dropped, he stared at Grant for a moment, who stormed in closer. "I depended on you. Trusted you, and this is my thanks?" Mr. Grant, sir, I'm afraid I don't understand." Grant grabbed the little man by his shirt. "Then let me be more direct," he shouted, and began thrashing him over the table. "Don't you realize that if Neo-Pharm goes down, everything falls with it? I've invested every last penny into this company, the property, the hotels, the shuttle, even my casinos." Without so much as a moment's hesitation, acting on pure aggressive instinct over conscious actions, Grant found his hands wrapped around Wyckoff's neck. His eyes bulged and he gasped for air as Grant continued. Is that what you want to do? Are you trying to destroy me? Because that's what you're doing. You're killing me, Wyckoff. His grip tightened with each word to follow. You are killing me. Mr. Grant, please, Wyckoff gasped. Why, Wyckoff? Why me? Tell me, what have I ever done to you? There was only silence. Grant could feel a tension in the air, realizing the office door was still open and nervous biochem workers huddled together, observing his vicious act. He released Wyckoff, suddenly taking on a friendly, informal tone. He smiled gently, letting out a small laugh as he guided the small man off the table. Oh, stop overreacting, Bob. Get up off your knees. Here, let me help you. He casually leaned against the table as Wyckoff rubbed at his neck. Bob, I've been getting reports that our Xenozip is not quite so marvelous as we first thought. In fact, it seems that a number of our customers get a bit, carried away. What can you tell me about this? Well, Mr. Grant, sir, it appears that a small percentage of the population is overly sensitive to Xenozip. It has to do with the chemical configurations of the new synthetic elements. Come on, Bob. How about that in English, eh? Well, sir, it appears that our formula for Xenozip is imperfect. There were certain elements in the original formula which can't be found here on Earth. We thought we had suitably mimicked these elements, but the fact is we didn't. We can't. Grant rubbed his chin. Ah, right, you're talking about that alien goo. What was it called? Regal Jam? Royal Jelly, sir. The royal jelly was transported to Earth with the Queen Mother when... You're saying that these people, this small group of people, are reacting to the fake elements in Xenozip. Well, that's one way of putting it, though I'd... But if we had the real thing, this royal jelly, then we'd have a perfect product, correct? Yes, we think so. But there is only one known source of the jelly, sir. Well then, we're just going to have to go there and get it, aren't we? Daniel Grant began the preparations to arrange such a venture. Under any other circumstances, a few calls would need to be made, a few favors would need to be pulled. But, as fate would have it, no more than 24 hours prior, General Burroughs had witnessed a demonstration of Xenozip's capabilities at Quantico Marine Base. Burroughs reached out to the Grant Corporation with a vital communication, an invitation to Washington to discuss Neo-Pharm's products. At 1100 hours, the next day, Daniel Grant would be making his case. The meeting place was a high-level war room, streamlined angles, all polished wood and chrome and underlit attitude. Daniel Grant looked around and smiled. He felt the room lighting up around him from the effects of that wonderful smile, and he reveled in its power. Gentlemen, all I ask for are 3 things. He turned the smile wattage up just a tad higher. Guns, grunts, and gondola. Send my team of specialists and scientists on a little voyage, and I promise to bring back happiness and satisfaction for us all. To the alien homeworld, for God's sake, said Admiral Niles. The old man moved forward in his chair. Not homeworld, sir, a supernumerary corrected. Hive world. The source of all the aliens that have been encountered in this quadrant of the galaxy from all signs. The source of the Queen Mother that was brought to Earth, not of the race, tendered another expert. The extent of the spread of the Xenos had not yet fully been determined. So far they had only been found on isolated planets, all the clues pointed back to this so-called Hive world. The Hive world had been the source of the Alien-Earth War. Admiral Niles grunted. Whatever. This place must be hell. I know that all the Xenos are comparatively well contained here on Earth. He looked at Grant, and it felt like those coal-black eyes were boring into him. In some ways, perhaps, even farmed. North Carolina is friendly terrain, but those bugs have the run of their planet, correct? Yes, Admiral, but my researchers assure me that the homeworld strain is a less aggressive breed. In their own natural environment, where they evolved, there is a delicately balanced ecosystem. They have predators there to keep them in check. Removing them from that world, eliminating the predators, has turned them into what they are today. So you're saying an expedition there is feasible and not overly risky, said the Admiral, settling back in his seat. Any environment containing these critters is going to have an element of risk, sir, said Grant. But then, I know your people can handle it, and the rewards would be spectacular. He leaned forward confidently. I mean, it was General Burroughs here who approached me on the subject, and I found it to be not only a fascinating concept, but a mutually rewarding alliance. An expedition into the adventure of free enterprise and the onward evolution of the American soldier. General Burroughs, would you care to elaborate? The general glared at Grant through slitted eyes. The Admiral has been thoroughly briefed on the benefits of the royal jelly you can supply. The man was playing poker here, and that was okay because Daniel Grant appreciated a good negotiator. It brought out the best in him. Yes, but before me I see intelligent eyes, questioning eyes. Grant stood and gestured outward at the assemblage of frowning brass. And as I am the pitchman here, and you've granted me time, please allow me to properly present my pitch. Grant snapped his fingers. The moving pictures on the hollow screens flickered into a different round. The Baghdad Goodwill Games, Oriander's world record, and his unfortunate demise. Ratty videos of the horrible slaughter at Quantico. He heard the sharp intake of breath. I'm sure you're aware of these tragedies and others like them that have caused a huge number of lawsuits to be leveled at my company, Grant said gravely, deep into presentation mode. Then, soldiers looking noticeably calmer, performing tasks and exercises with sharp precision and sharp eyes. Here we have a group of men who have just taken small doses of regular Xenozip, which I shall call fire from now on. This, as I hope you know, is derived from normal alien royal jelly. My company, Neo-Pharm, has patented the proper methodology of transforming normal alien royal jelly, utilizing molecules of Queen Mother royal jelly, so that tiny doses will perk up a normal human's day and enhance any soldier's performance. A little costly, perhaps, but worth it. However, as you no doubt are aware, the supply of normal royal jelly has been dwindling. We have synthesized the jelly, with mixed results. However, we need to not go into that right now. What is significant is that a batch of the synthesized jelly Xenozip was accidentally spiked with extra Queen Mother royal jelly. In a marked percentage of those who ingested it, the result was quite incredible. Properly modulated, the results of this new drug will create nothing less than a super soldier. The good general here is already at work experimenting with this new kind of jelly. However, our supplies of Queen Mother jelly are reaching depletion. And may I also add, we're still not exactly well stocked in the regular jelly either, which is our own bread and butter, far preferable to us than our synthesized sort. He leaned forward emphatically on the table. It's very simple. My company needs more regular royal jelly as well as QM royal jelly, and a way to get a regular supply of both. Your company, your armed forces, already staggering under heavy opposition and funding cuts, need to make maximum use of every soldier in conflict. I have the scientists and the talent. You've got intergalactic vessels, pilots, and soldiers. My scientists predict the certain existence of what we both need on the Hive world. He smiled. He held his hands up in an eloquent shrugging gesture. So, some of my kiddies go, some of your kiddies go. We get what we want. We make a little pact. You help me, I help you. You scratch my back, I save your butt. He could tell his spiel was getting to them. Everyone loved a rascal, especially when what he was coming up with could do big-time good. A new voice sounded from the assemblage. Mr. Grant, with all due respect, have you ever put on a suit and gone into a hive? Well, no, but what difference does that make? We're apparently talking about a whole world filled with bugs, Mr. Grant. Glib as your words may be, this assignment would not be simple. In fact, I'm willing to bet that stochastic prophecy would predict losses, said the woman. Not the ones projected by our figures, Grant said. Who the hell was this woman? What was she trying to do? The woman swiveled her head back and forth, catching each of the assembly eye to eye for just an instant of seriousness. Let me tell you all. I have been in the alien hives, miracle weapons or no miracle weapons. There will be losses. Are you willing to be responsible for that? Said the woman intensely, teeth gritted as though she were in some land of pain. Some of the upper brass began to hem and haw. The This was entering touchy territory. "Ah, God damn it," said Grant. "Give us a break. Is there not a war on? Is this not directly and indirectly a mission against the enemy? Casualties are always a possibility, but who's to say there's a certainty?" He stared at the woman, defiantly. Her eyes were ice. She wasn't giving an inch. "I just wanted to ask a question, Mr. Grant, and state a fact that you seem to be trying to avoid. That's all." The lips curled into a private smile. "As for me, the idea of going to this hive world and killing bugs and stealing their life stuff is rather appealing." Christ almighty, who was this bitch? The general and the admiral leaned over and privately conferred. The admiral looked over to his other officers and met merely nods and encouraging eyes. "Well, Mr. Grant," said the admiral, "it seems as though your intriguing proposal has made its first hurdle. I believe we can work something out." Grant could not suppress an ear-to-ear grin. His muscles unknotted. "Glad to hear it, Admiral. Glad to hear it. My companies have had a long and prosperous liaison with you fine folks in uniform. I'm glad it's taking off for other worlds." He gestured toward the woman. "Unless, of course, Officer Shrinking Violet disapproves." No comment. "Now then," said the Admiral, "I believe we have the necessary deep space tactical vessel at our disposal. It will take some time to prepare for this special journey, and of course we'll want a staff other than the people that Mr. Grant is supplying." Grant sat back down. "Of course, you'll get me the best men for the job." "Naturally, Mr. Grant, naturally. We have some fine veterans and pilots who would be perfect," the Admiral said. "What the expedition needs most is a commanding officer with the right feel both for leading troops and dealing with the quite unpredictable alien bugs." "That's your call," said Grant. "I'll leave that one totally up to you." "We anticipated the need for such a commander, Mr. Grant, so we invited a certain major along to this meeting. The youngest holder of the Congressional Medal of Honor, specifically for a pivotal role in the final cleaning up of the aliens in North America, and with special training for further work in space dealing with infestations on other planets and colonies." "Sounds good to me. When do I get to meet the man?" said Grant. The general turned to the small, coal-eyed woman. "You've already met. The question is, will the major agree to such an assignment?" "I'd relish such an assignment, sir. Thank you." "Excellent. I cannot commend your expedition into better hands, Mr. Grant. May I formally introduce you to Major Alexandra Lee, your commanding officer." "Well, well, well. How marvelous. And I thought you were the one who hated the bugs." "I do," said Major Lee. "I want to see every last one of them either cindered or perhaps even harmless, if that's possible. That's why I'm in this business, Mr. Grant. That's why I'm here today." She leaned forward and tapped the table. "Make no mistake, though. I don't believe in the devil, Mr. Grant, but if there was a devil, I doubt even he would be evil enough to invent these bugs. This is not going to be a field trip to an ant farm. Tell your people that." Those smoldering eyes again. There was something else in those eyes, something that looked at him in a peculiar way that bothered Grant. Bothered him intensely. He shrugged it off, turned to the men in charge. "Well, it seems like a fine choice to me. I like a woman with intestinal fortitude." He pulled out a handful of cigars from his breast pocket. "A celebration needs to be called for. Anybody care to join me?" He flashed a handful. The general took one. The admiral accepted one. "Me," said Major Lee, holding out a hand. Grant had passed one down. He watched as the petite but hard-looking woman accepted the cigar, examined it, sniffed it, then pocketed it. "You're not going to smoke it with us?" Daniel Grant said, slightly miffed but playful nonetheless. "Mr. Grant," said Major Lee, "celebration is hardly in order yet. I'll smoke it when the mission is over and my rear is seated safe and sound back in this chair for a debriefing." The woman asked for and obtained permission to leave from her superiors. "Well, what do you think of our choice for your commander?" said the general, an eyebrow raised. Grant let out a gust of smoke. "I'd say I feel damn sorry for those hive world bugs." In this series, I'm recounting events taking place in the aftermath of the Earth War, as depicted in the Aliens comics and novels. For more on the events of the Earth War, please see the playlist on the end screen and in the description below, and stay tuned for the latest videos. As always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and be sure to subscribe for all the latest videos. My very special thanks goes out to Alyssane, Queen Tier of the Patreon Hive. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.